Hey, just driving back from work today, going back to my work at the landfill. But I stumbled on a podcast that just really hit me today. It was called Thinning the Veil, and it was about family history work, and kind of some of the amazing experiences some people have had with that. I just felt very impressed with it. It was talking about getting specific revelation for family history work, and I also felt a little bit rebuked in that my family history is been, a lot of it's been documented, and so I typically haven't been adding names or trying to find names other than when I go to the temple, or I'll go and I'll research and I'll research some ways that I found it really helpful to get names to find, or to go to the temple, which is through descendancy, like going through finding a person and then seeing their descendants that need temple ordinances. But I haven't really sought much further than that, so I felt a little rebuked on that and felt like I needed to try to do better. I'm so grateful for my family. So I've always grown up in the church with a love for family and for family history. Going back to when I was really little, we would go with my dad to the Family History Center in our church in Alamo. And I had mentioned before, I had one of the coolest church ever. So we had the main level, an upstairs, a downstairs, a primary weird add-on that had like a weird loop around it. But then, so you go downstairs, and you had the high priest group, or the high priest corner, group room, and a bathroom down there, and a couple classrooms. Well, and then at the end of the hallway, there was like a super downstairs that went an additional flight downstairs, and that was to the Family History Center. It was kind of creepy, kind of cool, but it was also, back when they didn't have Family Search. It was, I don't know what they did before. They did the microfilm, and they did have computers, but we would go there, and I remember my dad getting really excited when he'd find a name. And at one point, we were able to, he'd had us try to memorize our line a little bit. So when he would find a new one, he would try to see if he could memorize it up to that line, which on his line, from what I remember, it was only on his line that we went, on his direct line, that he was really finding many people. But it didn't happen very often. But I remember that was one core memory of that, just family history. It was fun. We loved going with him when he would go do it. And then also my mom's side, we've been told stories from our ancestors from the time I was little. We had a couple that were more well known in the church, and so that was, we always heard about those ones. But it wasn't until after my mission that I really started seeing that we actually have a lot of really cool stories that they have. So I remember, we always hear stories about my fourth great grandma, Mary Elizabeth Rollins Leitner, and then also my fourth great grandfather on another line, Luke Johnson, who was one of the original 12 apostles in the last dispensation. So I remember hearing about those two a lot. I don't remember hearing much else. I remember hearing one about my second great grandpa, George Roberts, who ended up going to Australia and finding the church there, and then coming come to America, so that was pretty cool. But really, I didn't hear much stories of them, other than those main ones. But it's been, since my dad's passed away, the spirit of Elijah is real. It is real. The hearts of the children turn to their fathers, and the hearts of their fathers turn to the children. And it's not just through temple work and to get them sealed. It's to get to know them, to know their stories, to be interested in that. I've seen so many blessings from starting family history work and learning new things about it, and I love it, and I'm excited about it because it brings us together. It's brought me and my family closer together. I'll tell a couple stories real quick, but so let's see, 3 years ago, we've been doing a family reunion for the past, like, I don't remember, since 2019, 2018. We've been taking turns as each kid in the family will take a year, and they will kind of plan it and choose a location to do it. And we'll get like an Airbnb or something, and we'll all come together. And it's been getting harder to do that because it's hard to find an Airbnb with that can house as many people as we have now, because we've got a lot of grandkids in the mix. But so 3 years ago, I chose one we did Parowan, Utah. I love Parowan. It's a great town. I worked there for a little bit. I really wanted to live there, but we chose there, and I had each of our family pick a story of an ancestor and share it one night. We were in kind of like a testimony meeting, except for it was just sharing a story that meant a lot to you about family history. So we had all of us, and even my brother and sister-in-law, they were sharing ones too, and it was really good. I loved it. So that's one story. Then I I listened to the Roots Tech video with Sean Astin, and in that one, right before he came on, it started talking about the study where if we know about our family history and stories from our family history, we're more emotionally resilient and happy. And there were some other things that they did this study, that they were kids that knew the stories of their ancestors were much better prepared and much better emotionally and spiritually resilient versus others that didn't. And so I took that, and I loved the idea of that, and I wanted to share stories with my kids. I wanted to find them. And so last year last year I had two things on my mind. I really wanted to get my personal history up to date, which I was able to do that up until like March of last year. I've written in my journal a little bit from then, but I haven't typed it and added it to personal history. Because I felt when my dad passed away, that was something that was on his mind a lot, was I need to get my personal history up to date. And he was working on it. He didn't quite get it up to date before he passed away. My mom had to finish it, but then she printed it and bound it into a book and gave it to us for Christmas, and I'm so grateful for that. So that was one thing that was on my mind. I really wanted to get that up to date, so that if anything were to happen to me, I would be able to leave my kids with my story and have them be able to have that. So that was one thing. I was able to do that. The other thing I was really trying to do, And I started it once, probably 3 or 4 years ago, but I started putting stories together of my ancestors, and then I had found that my cousin Jared had pretty much done a good portion of that already for what I had started. And so, but a couple years ago, last year, I started that project up again, and I just was compiling every personal history kind of thing, like little biographies, stories from their lives. I was trying to do as much as I possibly could, as far back as I could. And now I know I missed a few of their stories, but I had it laid out with a pedigree chart, so reference, so you could see where each person was, and in my family history, and then had it on my dad's side was half of it, my mom's side was the other half, and I put it together. I think it ended up being about 260 pages of stories and biographies, and it was I was really grateful to be able to do that. So I did that, and I printed it and bound it like my mom did, and I gave one to her and one to each of my siblings, and then one to me. That was one project I took on, and it was really a blessing to me to be able to learn so much about my ancestors. Next little story about that is just recently. So I was the executive secretary to the bishop in my ward, and Bishop, he kind of let me know that I was probably going to be getting released soon. I had been in for almost 3 years, not terribly long, but longer than most callings are. And he said, what would if you had a choice of a calling, what would it be? And I told him, I would love to be doing what my wife's doing right now. She's in the family history consultant. Or, I'd also love to be a emergency preparedness specialist kind of guy. Well, I'd kind of hoped that I'd get to be the emergency preparedness specialist, because that I want to be able to help other people be prepared, physically and spiritually and emotionally, because I know how difficult things are going to be in the near future. I've felt it, I've seen it, and I think for a large part, a lot of the church is unaware of how difficult it could be. So I want to be able to help others do that. So that it was, and I enjoy doing it. But recently I just got, and I haven't been sustained yet, but he just called me to the Temple and Family History leader. And so I'm excited about it. I'm really excited. I have a lot of ideas of what I can do, some things that I can maybe do to have an excitement, to have more people be excited about it. And I'm excited about it because I've found so much joy in doing it that I hope others can find that too. When I was in Idaho, I was a second counselor in the Elders Quorum, and I worked with the Temple and Family History leader, and we saw a lot of success up there, and I loved doing it. So I'm hoping to bring some of those things that they did up in Idaho, and get my ward excited about it. I know that it is the spirit of Elijah, and that it is real, and as we let it into our lives, it will turn our hearts to our fathers, and our fathers' hearts to ours, and my heart to my children is, I feel like it's not just when they passed away, but turning of the fathers' hearts to their children. I felt that. I felt need to do certain things. And part of this was a little bit worrying too, but is why I did some of it when I was probably 5 or 6 years ago. But I had this dream where where one of my kids would die or something, or I would die and they'd be left alone. And so I wanted to leave them something, even if my dad, when he passed away, I was 23, but my brother, he was only 16, and none of the grandkids knew him in this immortality, and we have hardly any recordings of him. So one thing I did was I recorded a few different things of me. I recorded a couple of my favorite songs that I know that I like, and then ones that they really liked, just on a recording app, so that they could have those little pieces of me, even if I were to leave or pass away or whatever. Not leave, but leave this earth. And then also recording stories from my grandma. That was another big thing that I did, because and that's been immensely blessed me immensely too, because now that she's passed away, I can go back and listen to those and hear those stories. And I wish someone would have done that with my dad. My cousin did with him, but he only got like 5 minutes, and I wish he would have spent an hour with him. And I feel that is such an important thing for this generation, for us. But I'm excited about it. I hope to give you more updates on how it goes if I can ever implement anything exciting about family history. But I know that is the Lord's work, and I'm grateful to have that calling, even though I haven't been sustained yet. I'm excited to have that calling. I say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.